You know, there's all sorts of history here in New Orleans, but Hurricane Katrina's wrath is a part of this city's not too distant past. The Society of St. Vincent de Paul, which started here back in 1865, was not spared disruption as many members were displaced and many conferences shuttered. There's been much rebuilding since. Same for the Society, whose members say it's been a time of renewal and rebirth.
We had 73 conferences with 73 churches prior to Katrina. When Katrina came in, that actually divided us and sent us, and as you know, New Orleans was actually underwater, so we couldn't come back to the city and actually continuously to work in the city. But we worked outside of the city of touching those people here in New Orleans and those that were in need.
Vincentians helped rebuild homes and lives and restored a sense of community to people who had, in many cases, lost everything. Vincentians across the country are helping people start over after hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, and other natural disasters. And one way they're doing that is through the Society of St. Vincent de Paul's House in a Box program. It came into being in response to the long-term recovery here after Hurricane Katrina. Let's take a look at how it works after tornadoes struck outside of Dallas.
We were out bowling with the family, and my phone kept ringing, and I was like, okay. And my brother was like, no, your phone is literally just, whoever it is, something is wrong because they keep calling.
Yolanda Dedrick remembers the day after Christmas when her world turned upside down and her life changed forever.
So I answered the phone, and it was one of my good friend's daughter. And she was like, did you hear the news? And I was like, what news? She said, your apartment complex is gone.
Yolanda's home, all her belongings gone in seconds when deadly tornadoes roared through Garland, Texas and surrounding communities. Michael and Carol Barnes share a similar story.
The lights flickered again. I went to the front door and I heard this noise that I probably will never forget coming down the street. And I found out it was a cab. A gentleman had dropped a lady off in the neighborhood, and a tornado had come over the houses down the street and took the cab and was literally throwing it to the house. And I could hear it banging. And then the wind started blowing, and I grabbed her and I said, get in the bathroom. I called my daughter downstairs and pushed everybody into the restroom, and the lights went off.
So after the tornado was hitting, the house was rocking. You know, you can literally feel the frame rocking, and you could see it moving, and the door was trying to come open, and he was holding the door, and it was pulling him, and we was holding on to him, and everybody was like, oh Lord, please, just praying that, you know, it pass over us and don't take none of us.
Like Yolanda, the Barnes family was okay, shaken though by the aftermath.
And when it finished, I could hear the wind, you know, but I knew the roof wasn't there because I could hear the wind. And when I opened it up, the trees in the living room.
Everything was broken, the glass, all the walls were damaged with the windows all blown out, and the top of the roof was like wide open. You could just look straight up to the sky. And I was like, oh my God.
Stories like these have become all too familiar to the Society of St. Vincent de Paul and Vincentians in its Disaster Services Corporation.
Well, the Society has been involved in disaster services for a long time. We did actually disaster case management during the American Civil War, so it's quite a while ago. And so we're one of the oldest charities in the United States that's done disaster services.
Vincentian Elizabeth Disco Shearer reminds us Vincentians aren't first responders. However, they are in devastated communities long after the power has been restored and the broken limbs cleared away, helping their neighbors heal and rebuild.
So recently, for example, in West Virginia, we deployed Vincentians from other parts of the country that came in and went into the shelters and into the intake centers and provided that emotional and spiritual care for families, because people just need someone to listen to their story.
And help them begin to put the pieces of their lives back together.
So we lifted up the sheetrock, and there was a chest of drawers by the side of the bed. And I told him, I said, look in there. I said, you see that Bible? I say, bring that. I said, they can have the rest of this stuff. And I dropped it. That's the only thing, two things I took out the house.
I had just very few items, like some clothes, like one part of the closet didn't get touched, stuff like that. But for the most part, like my beds, clothes, pictures, you know, stuff that you can't get back. All that stuff was gone, furniture.
This warehouse may not look like much, but what it houses begins the process of people putting their lives back together again.
We have items that make a quality of living a little bit more than basic. We have dining tables and sets so they can sit down as a family and eat. We have kitchenware so they can, as a family, get back in the kitchen and prepare meals. We have bedding so they're not sleeping maybe on the floor. As I hear so many families say, we've been sleeping on the floor until we're able to give them a queen-size bed for the adults, twin beds for the kids.
Michael Colbert manages the warehouse where the Society of St. Vincent de Paul of Dallas houses the items needed for the House in a Box program.
I've had families tell me they've been sitting in camping chairs for 4 months, 5 months, and they are thrilled to get a sofa to be able to stretch out and for an evening finally, make it feel like home again. And dresser, more bedroom furniture or dresser so folks aren't living out of boxes. They can put their clothes in a dresser.
In Dallas, the Society of St. Vincent de Paul partners with the Catholic Diocese of Dallas, the Knights of Columbus, and Catholic Charities of Dallas to provide families a fresh start.
Well, there's beds. That's probably the most important piece of it. Beds, sofa, we have housewares, lots of houseware items. I mean, you know, if you're going to eat, you need to be able to cook. We have chests of drawers. We have bedding for the beds as well. Dining set, a small dinette set.
Mary Gonzalez's home was just 2 blocks away from one of the areas tornadoes touched down. She's grateful she was spared. The experience inspired her to live her faith and help others by serving as the Dallas Society's Disaster Relief Coordinator.
I feel blessed to be able to participate in this way to help others. I can't think of any other place I'd rather be right now.
Yolanda says she had renter's insurance, just not enough coverage to help her replace everything she lost, meaning the out-of-pocket expenses could really add up.
Dishes, forks and spoons, things that you wouldn't even think of that I really did need. The pots and pans, mattress, bed frames.
It's really difficult when you have lost your family Bible, you've lost all your pots and pans, your plates, your family pictures, everything's gone. And we don't want to just give them used items. We want to give them a new start.
It's very evident that they are relieved, they are grateful, they feel blessed, they are tearful sometimes to be getting some sort of normalcy back in their life. It's everyone to a person, adult and child. I've seen kids jumping up and down, big beaming smiles on their face. They're getting a bed to sleep in finally.
National partnerships allow the Society to provide new items. That's why generous donations to the Society are needed most after a disaster, much more than well-intentioned donations of clothing and other items.
What we always tell people, if you want to help with a disaster, the best thing you can do is to send money, because we usually, St. Vincent de Paul, we buy gift cards for families that are in shelters or that we see at the multi-agency resource centers so that they can take that to get fuel or food or, you know, clothes for their children. And that's the most efficient way for us to be able to help people directly.
The people being helped are grateful for the generosity of others and for Vincentians who care.
I've come to understand that some people, that's just their ministry. Their ministry is to help others, and I'm glad that I opened up. I'm usually a very private person. Anybody that knows me, I'm very prideful, but sometimes you just need help, and to get help from someone that sincere, it's really heartwarming. It really is.
I told my husband, I was like, oh, thank God. We found somebody that can really actually help us. And we just want to say thank you. Thank you to House in a Box. We appreciate them wholeheartedly.
Serving people in need, especially in the wake of floods, fires, tornadoes, hurricanes, and other disasters. It's the calling of Vincentians with the Society of St. Vincent de Paul. Since the program's inception in 2005, House in a Box has helped more than 75,000 people.